say 2019 was a bit of a year, both for gaming releases and for the actual games that I played in the year. So I've done my best of list already, exploring some of my favourites. But this is the list where not only are they quite disappointed, they've just let me down in some way or the other. Maybe they have good points, but there was a big sway between more disappointed than enjoying. You know, say like something like Death Stranding that had a lot of problems with it, where I still enjoyed it. These are the games that I kind of enjoyed, but they just had too much wrong with them. Like I say, in the other direction. That, and there are games on. This is the first year that I think I've ever had games that have actually made me angry and pissed off. But before we get to those ones, let's get through the rest of this list, shall we? Because I've put it off for long enough. This is the top 9 most disappointing games that I played, not necessarily that were released, the most disappointing games that I played in 2019. Starting out with, this is definitely one that kind of, I didn't know whether to put it on the best of or the worst of. It's Super Mario Maker 2 for the Nintendo Switch. And I know that sounds like a really odd one to put on here because it is a really good game. I was so happy that it finally came to the Switch. As somebody who didn't really own a Wii U and never got to play the original, I've seen videos and that. But I was so happy that this was, a new title for the Switch. But that's where the problem lays because it's not just a port. It's not like, say, Captain Toad or whatever. It's not just been kind of brought over. This has been given a number. This is a new take, new game in the franchise, and yet it's had the minimum effort put to it. Now, I will adjust because since I played it, there have been a lot of updates. There have been new abilities added. There have been the creator worlds added. There has been a lot added. But I'm talking about games that I played at the time in 2019. And the base game that I played was as basic as you could get. You had so they did finally add their own levels. It wasn't just some beginner levels. They weren't entirely relying on the community to do all the work for them. There is a story in the Peach's castle has like blown up and you have to rebuild it, and the way to do that is to get coins and that from the Mario Maker levels that they've given you, which is over 100 of them. So, I mean, at least some effort has been put in there. But it's just. This felt very bare bones. It didn't have the 100 lives challenge or anything like that. They have an endless challenge. And again, I don't know what's been added since. It's gotta be a year since I picked up the game. Due to health issues, I had to stop playing it. But they got rid of they've had an endless challenge, but I always enjoyed watching the videos of the 100 Mario challenge and that, where you would have a number of levels, whereas now you just keep going and going, and that's really boring. It's like, see how far you get. It's like, well, what do you get out of that? So I like the endpoint ones kind of thing. So I hate that they got rid of that. And just I, I I hate people. Basically, I'm basing this game on the fact that I hate people and the fact that some levels are amazing. The ingenuity, the creativity that some people put into levels is amazing. And then you get other levels that are either the trolliest of things or just the most basic and boring. I just the thing that gets I'm waffling on about this game and there's not much to say about it. But my biggest gripe with this game, like I say, it's a good game. It's a fun game, and I'm glad it came to the Switch. But I just feel like they put, and I'm not saying, I can't make video games, so I'm not saying that the people who worked on this didn't put work in, but I just mean from an ethics, how it's been produced and that, I just feel like it was very minimalistic and bare bones and not much effort was put into it. So I had to, and that's why I've put it at number 9, because it's not the worst game. It's, like I say, a really good game and addictive. But yeah, I just felt like it was a bit lazy. Um, at number 8, we have The Walking Dead, the final season. Telltale's The Walking Dead. Well, I mean, technically it's not Telltale anymore because Skybound had to finish it off. Those who don't know, Telltale, who made these really good story-based kind of choose your own adventure in a way, although they weren't, because then you would always just get the same ending. Um, uh, they went out of business. Turned out there was a lot of bad practices going on, in the workplace and just management wise and that. So they shut down like before the final season of The Walking Dead had been finished. So everybody was like, what's going on? And especially like when I wanted to buy this season, it was quite expensive because I think it was going to be like a 5 episode season, maybe 6. I think it's 5 because all of the Walking Dead ones are 5. But um, yeah, nobody. I think they were gonna end it at like 3 or something. And everybody was like, what? But Skybound, who own the Walking Dead comics and that, they stepped in and actually took over and made sure to finish the story. And that is commendable. And I think what they did at the end, thanks for playing and that nice screen at the end and that, uh, I think we should just be glad we got anything, to end Clementine's story. But again, it felt, I don't know, it feels like there is problems going on in the background, and I don't know if knowing that stuff is going on, behind the scenes, uh, makes you feel that more. But as I was playing it, you could feel that so little effort and time had been put into the story. And there was such this rush to end Clementine's story. Because the last time we saw Clementine, I think, um, you'll have to forgive me, it was the bloody Frontier one. I'm pretty sure that's the last time we saw her. She was going off to find RJ and rescue him. And we've had no real. You get tiny flashbacks, but we don't really get any fulfilling in between, like, her going to go find RJ kind of thing. So, that was a little disappointing. And they pull a thing at the end where it gets you emotionally invested with Clementine, and you think that's, and it doesn't matter. I'm not going to spoil it, but it doesn't matter the decision you make. It's bullshit. It's all. I mean, let's be honest. Most of the decisions in the Walking Dead games are bullshit anyway. But this one made no difference whatsoever. And they completely copped out in this desire to get a happy ending. And I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't care for the characters that much. I was so disappointed. This was the final chapter of this amazing series that has had its highs and lows, but consistently I've still enjoyed to some extent. As I said, Michonne was the weakest one for me, easily. But yeah, it was just meh. It was really disappointing. Like I say, kudos to those who stepped in and completed the project. But yeah, it feels like something that didn't have anybody like, that people were being tortured while trying to make it. I just kind of feel, knowing the practices that were going on and that, you kind of feel you feel bad for putting down anything that these poor people in these bad working circumstances were in. But at the same time, I just feel like the higher ups were just like, "I'll put it out there," and that was it. So yeah, I just felt it didn't take risks. It played on your emotions without any fulfilling outcomes. And yeah, I just didn't really care for the characters. So yeah, that was The Walking Dead, the final season. Oh, please don't resurrect it. At least I'm enjoying the VR games at the moment. But anyway, uh, anyway, At number 7, we have Late Shift. Oh, if you want characters that you hate, oh, have we got a list of games for you today? But Late Shift. Okay, so this is an odd one to put on here because to call it a game is like the loosest possible, term. It is an interactive movie, and it's like one of those DVD menu movies. Where you have like two options or something for whether you do something or whether you don't, or what you say. But it just I hated the main character. That guy was so annoying. I didn't care whether he lived or died. And actually, he was just a pile of shit, to be honest. He was a mean, self-centered bastard. I was like, I don't care for this guy. And just the decisions were stupid, and just gameplay wise, again, I feel bad because I really enjoyed Wales Interactive's. I apologise if I got the name of that company wrong. I enjoyed The Bunker. I enjoyed that a lot. But this was, I guess they were trying something different. And it was nice to see these kind of DVD interactive things kind of brought back in a way. But it's on the PlayStation. And I was just like, okay. I just didn't feel it was very well executed. And I just didn't really care for the story, and it was quite stereotypical. Yeah, this one, there's not much to say about it. It just didn't do it for me. I think really you should go back and watch my, don't mean to plug my other videos, but I do recommend going back and watching my Let's Play of it on the channel, because I think you'll get more of the feel of not only the game, but how I'm reacting to it as I went along. It just was disappointing, and just really didn't do it for me. So, yeah. And number 6, we've got the first of numerous Ubisoft titles. Well, no, not Ubisoft, but games that I played with Malcolm. It is The Division 2. Tom Clancy's The Division 2. This one, you know what? I wasn't a big fan of The Division, but it had its moments, and I think you got a lot of fun out of. It really was one of those games where it was like, it's fun to play with friends. And in a way, The Division 2 is a lot more of the same, but it focuses way too much on the whole gear score thing, which Ubisoft, have gotten themselves in trouble for more recently, and we'll get into that game in a minute. But they focus way too much. The loot is no fun whatsoever. At least in the first game, you were getting like cosmetic stuff, like the bobble hats and stuff, and they were so much to work with. Here it is guns, and not even fun guns, and you're just like, what is the point? It'd be cool to get some paint jobs or whatever. Here, there's just the loot is no fun. I didn't find the loot fun at all, and the characters that you interact with as part of the story are just pointless. Like, at least with the first game, you had the doctor, you had the lady that was running the place, you had way more, and you had the different departments for tech and medical and stuff like that. You don't have this here. You have access to the White House, and the White House is quite possibly the most boring place that you visit in the whole map. It's ridiculous. I just found it felt like an extension to the first game. Now I will say, the thing I do enjoy about the Division series is I enjoy the gadgets and stuff that you use in combat. Which is unfortunately lacking. And again, like I say, I'll get into this later when we get into another entry. But yeah, I really enjoy the gadgets in the Division series, but I just didn't feel like they were always, like, your upgrades and that didn't always feel all that worthwhile. And don't even get me started on the whole bloody the dark zone areas. That is just annoying. People are there just to troll you, and it's not even fun trolling. Malcolm and I were playing at one point, and we bumped into somebody else, and we were talking, and all they literally wanted to do was grief other people. They were like, "Yeah, let's just go grief." And I was like, "No, we're here to actually do stuff." So I know that's a personal preference. You know, people. It is fun to be rebellious in a dark zone, but I don't always feel like it's beneficial to be rebellious. And especially when you're in certain areas and you get these bloody turrets immediately target you if you're marked as a rebel. So yeah, I found the Division 2 really grating, nowhere near as interesting as the first game. And I don't know how it has been since we played it, if they've updated it with better gameplay and that, but yeah, no. The Division 1 I happily platted, as frustrating as it was. This one, just... Malcolm stopped playing it, and I don't think he has any interest in going back to it. I would love to complete it. But yeah, when you get to the point where it's like, oh, to carry on with these missions, go back and play these missions on a different difficulty. Everybody was selling the post-game content. And it's garbage. The special weapons that you get have very limited ammo, that you then have to do certain things to get extra ammo. I didn't find all the post content is go back and do these missions but on a harder difficulty. Okay. And then trying to find people to do it on a harder difficulty is annoying. You try and matchmake, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I didn't enjoy that game anywhere near as much as the first game, and considering the first game was not high tier gaming, that's saying a lot. But at number 5, we have got Dear Esther. Oh, Dear Esther. Okay, so on my best of list, I had The Vanishing of Ethan Carter and talked about the hits and misses you can get with walking simulators. Dear Esther was quite possibly was worse than Gone Home for me. It's so boring. Don't get me wrong. It's beautiful. It's stunning. I think it's the Hebrides area that is recreated here. Could be wrong. I apologise if I am. But it's visually, it's amazing. And the best way actually to play this game is to play it with the commentary on. You get sections where you get to certain points and you can click on these commentaries and you'll get the developers talk about the process and the community that helped them make this game. That was fascinating. I was just a small team that then worked with a community of fans. I think it was a mod for something. I could be wrong. But I think it was a mod that they then developed into this full game kind of thing, story game. And just listen to that was really interesting and engaging. The actual game, though, I'm sorry. There's not much to say here. I just didn't get into it. You're walking around and you're finding these letters that are very well read by this male actor that I don't know the name of off the top of my head. And they're very well written and very emotional. But I didn't really feel it. I didn't really jam with it. I just didn't connect with it. You get to the end and you're like, okay, well, that was something I played. I just got really bored. And like I say, kudos to the people who made it. Like I say, visually it's stunning. And it's an interesting area to explore. But it is exceptionally, not exceptionally linear. It is quite linear. And you don't know what you're doing. You're supposed to explore this big area, and just to find these odd letters here and there. And I just didn't get into it. I'm sorry. I guess kind of like Gone Home. Gone Home I felt was a lot more emotionally engaging, learning about these characters. But I did not feel that with Dear Esther at all. I didn't feel connected to the two main characters that are talked about, kind of thing. So, sorry, Dear Esther, but yeah, I was glad to be done with you. At number 4, though, we have got The Dark Pictures Anthology, Man of Medan. This is made by the same people that made Until Dawn. And it's kind of seen in the same universe as it, but this was awful. It's very reliant on choosing dialogue paths and stuff. And it relies heavily on the whole QuickTime event thing where, if you miss the tiniest little, the fastest QuickTime event, that's it, your character is dead. But I didn't enjoy the characters. I didn't enjoy the story at all. I thought it was so shallow, so little happens. There were so many plot holes. There were attitudes, and there was just these characters are so annoying. I didn't care for any of them. And it just felt really like once you figure out what's going on, at no point are you really led to believe into this whole ghost thing. It tries to tell you the whole, like, what's happened about 50 times. I don't know how many times we were told, oh, yeah, no, there's been this neurotoxin that's been hanging in the air, which I'm still impressed is still hanging in the air after all this time, after all the exposure to air and stuff like that. The fact that that gas is still there is, now I'm not, a biochemist and stuff like that. I don't know how long these kind of things can last. But surely after some time that should have started to dissipate, like a lot. It should not have been affecting them that much. But yeah, they essentially spell it out for you about 100 times that it's this gas. But then they still keep going, oh, it's ghosties. And the people, like, they know, and yet they're still freaked out and stuff. And you're just like, oh my god, stop, stop. It's not a very long game. I just didn't find it interesting. I know Malcolm got fed up of it as well. We make fun of it to this day. We're dreading Little Hope, which comes out in a couple weeks. But at the same time, we're looking forward to taking the piss out of it. We're keeping everything crossed that it's at least slightly more thought out. I just don't feel like this was thought out. I think they were thinking too much on a bigger picture of numerous games in this anthology and just didn't really think about the individual stories as they stood, kind of thing. Now, I enjoyed Until Dawn. Malcolm did not. But at least Until Dawn, it knew it was being this kind of schlocky teenage horror movie kind of knockoff. Whereas this, I don't think it knew what it wanted it to be. So yeah, I really don't recommend this one. Yeah, it's short. If you're after an interest, if you're after an interesting kind of take your character, put their lives on the line kind of game, go check out Until Dawn. Don't bother with Man of Medan at all. It's just not worth it. Although I will say the narrator guy, he creeps me out. Just saying, he is no Peter Stormare at all. But there is something very weirdly engaging about him. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, don't check out Man of Medan. It's not worth it at all. And number 3, wow, this is one of the biggest disappointments. And I apologise to Mulu in advance because I know they're going to be really disappointed with me, although I have spoken to them about it. But it's Kingdom Hearts 3. So they worked on this one for quite a long time. Now, I will go into the fact, though, I will say, though, that I have not played all the DS games. And Kingdom Hearts 3 relies on you essentially knowing every single tiny thing and timeline from every single game in the franchise. Be that the main titles on the PS2, or, the remasters, if you will, or all of the DS games. And I do not own a DS. I cannot see to use a DS. So I have not experienced a lot of this story. But I was still able to get into it. I still knew the bare bones. I still knew enough to understand what was going on. But I just felt I felt story wise wasn't the problem for me. I was engaged. I did feel like it just went round and round in circles on the same points again as usual. Um, but Sora at the beginning is quite possibly the most annoying. Like, I don't know what happened. It was like he was on drugs. And again, I don't know what happened in games like Dream Drop and stuff like that. I was given the impression he'd lost his memory or his abilities or something. Um, but yeah, it was just he was really aggravating at the beginning. Um, but otherwise, I didn't really have much issue with the story. I was interested to see where they would go with Xehanort and stuff like that. Um, but that stuff I was interested in, and I felt sometimes was actually quite well executed. But the rest of it feels rushed and just unfinished. Um, I'm not even kidding. There's a lot of levels here. Well, I mean, I know, like I said, I know they worked on it for a long time. But I do feel like, say, there wasn't as much Final Fantasy here as I thought there might be. Um, there was an actual lack. I would have loved to have seen like more Final Fantasy 15 related stuff, and that wasn't here at all, which surprised me. And again, both of those were worked on for a long, long time, so I know that stuff has to be missing. But that I was surprised by. Um, but the main side, I think, seems to have been the Disney side. And I think Disney may have stepped in a lot to debate, like to have control over how their franchise, a lot more than, say, it was in previous titles. It felt like they had a much stronger hold on their franchises and were like, you can do this with this character, but you can't do this with this character. And nowhere was that ever more obvious than in the Frozen world. I know everybody was excited for Frozen, but this is the most half baked, just underdone level in the whole game. You have the whole ice palace, and yet you have rooms, these big cavernous rooms, where nothing happens. No enemies turn up, no story happens, no side missions, no collectibles, no nothing. It's just like it was just dumped there, and it's like, well, we might do something with it. No. You get no real story regarding Elsa and co. I mean, the biggest set piece in this game is having basically Elsa sing Let It Go again. Just with Snoopy, oh my god. Just with Goofy, Donald, and Sora watching and going, oh, she's really good. It's like, oh, okay. And yeah, it's not even as good a visual quality as the movie. You'd be better off just going to watch the movie. It was that disappointing. And then you got other levels, like Tangled and that, which are just basically retelling the stories of the movies. And you would be way better in. There was nothing original here. The Toy Story world at least felt original. It was a nice continuation to see the characters and that. Again, it was really short. Um, but at least it felt like a little adventure with them. So yeah, it was just a little. It was just. There's a lot more. I had a lot more feelings about this when I played it. Like I say, I'm talking like what 18 months later. It was just. I know that the guy that created the series and that worked his heart out, but I just feel like corporate dabbling probably really put a strain on what was involved. And just franchises, actually. I felt like there was a real lack of, like, franchise variety. You really don't have many different worlds here. I mean, we go back to fucking, Hercules, Olympus for like what the 50th time in the whole series. I was just like, okay, do we really have to interact with Hercules again? And they don't even have bloody Oh my god, Danny DeVito's character. He doesn't talk at all, and considering his character in the movies talks so much, it's really distracting to not have him talking. It's clearly they just couldn't be bothered to get either anybody who sounds like him or Danny DeVito himself. So that was really distracting. Like I say, you visit a lot of other worlds that you've visited before, and that can be fun. Um, it was fun to go back to Clocktown and stuff like that, but yeah, they didn't have Remy talk for the Ratatouille connection, and even the Ratatouille stuff was pointless. I think it just filled in that kind of like I say Final Fantasy 15 kind of cooking mini game. Um, and a lot of I don't know what it is. It's something I've noticed with a number of the Kingdom Hearts games. What is it about them having Maleficent sound as if she was recorded back in the 1920s? I know it's a big thing where, it's an old movie and stuff like. I don't know if they're just trying to make it sound like that, but if you listen, it always sounds like the actress is phoning it in. They've got like this higher frequency kind of his sound. It's really annoying because it's nowhere near as clean as the rest of the voice. It happens with a couple of the characters, but Maleficent is definitely the one I always notice it on. So yeah, there's good voice acting here. There is definitely, but I just don't feel like the script was that fun at times. But yeah, like I say, it's not the story that I have the issue with. I really feel, and I came away desperately feeling like so much was empty and too much was maybe controlled by Disney. I mean, I know some movies have been released in the time that this was in production, but yeah, it's not the story that I have the issue with. As a final chapter, it felt a little flat at times. But my main issue is definitely just with the level designs and stuff. I mean, again, the Frozen one. You go up the mountain, you fall down the mountain, then you have to climb back up the mountain, and then you fall down again, and you're like, what is even the point? This is so stupid. So yeah, it's just that was my takeaway. Also, I wasn't a fan of the. I thought it was an interesting concept, the Disney World rides as a summons, but I didn't find them anywhere near as fun. And you've also got like the Wreck It Ralph, the separate kind of summons. But I didn't find any of the summons whatsoever anywhere near as fun as previous titles, and as amazing, particle effects and stuff that the rides had. They were amazing to look at. I didn't always feel like they controlled particularly well, and somebody will say you just need to get good and stuff like that. But I found them a little finicky, a little unreliable, and actually it would just be better to just club everybody around the head with the Keyblade than rely on the summons. But yeah, no, that was just my takeaway from it. And again, I apologise to Mulu because I know they were a big fan. But this is a very personal list, and these are very personal thoughts. The thing is the reason why this is so high up on the list is I was so excited for this game, and yeah, I just came away going, oh, okay. I was the most disappointed by it. Like I say, it's not a bad game by any means. I just found it a little underwhelming. But at number two, we've got the next Ubisoft title. And of course, it is Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I swear these titles just get longer and longer for the sake of it at this point. Yeah, okay, so this was a follow-up to Ghost Recon Wildlands, which I wasn't the biggest fan of, but Malcolm and I, we had a good laugh getting the trophies and that on that game. But Breakpoint is the biggest mess you could ever experience. And of course, it's all come to, we know what was going on behind the scenes regarding, the fact that it was all of two people making decisions, and this is why this feels like the Division 2.0, or even the Division 2 2.0, because it focuses so much on gear score. But the problem is so it focused so much on gear score and was tedious for it.
And then they took away the gear score. Well, I mean, they didn't take it away. They gave you the option to play without. But all the fun stuff is hidden behind the gear score, essentially. If you want to play raids online with other players, you have to get a bare minimum gear score. And Malcolm and I, we played the game originally with the gear score on because that was the only option. And then we turned off gear score. And then when we realised we couldn't get into raids without this level, we started working again on getting looting, getting all the chests and stuff to get our gear score up. Except no matter what we did, we were always like 8 points shy of the bare minimum. So we never got into raids, quite annoyingly. But not only have you got that with the whole loot system and that, the story, oh my god. So, the big thing at E3 and all the announcements was Jon Bernthal was going to be guest starring. And I love Jon Bernthal, so I was kind of excited. But he plays the most one-note Marine character you could ever encounter. It's a hoorah, and he just wants to make the world in his, image of, oh, they're all sinners, and I'm the best, and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, okay. And he's just a dick, and he's not even remotely fun to watch. I didn't really feel like I was seeing Bernthal act his chops out or anything. It just felt he just went into and just gruffed a few lines and shouted a bit into the microphone. It just got really tedious with that side of things. And then the boss battle at the end, where you're taking him on, was so underwhelming. To the point where, I swear, Malcolm and I didn't even realise that we'd completed the mission. We killed him, and it was just like, oh, that's it, that's done. It was just like, okay. It was it was just underwhelming, and there's no faction section in this game like there was in Wildlands, so you can't, get all these rebels together and get them to go do jobs for you and stuff like that and back you up in gunfight. No, just you carry on. And just like, okay. There's just none of the joy and fun that was in Wildlands, which is saying much because Wildlands wasn't the greatest of games. But it was just so unpolished, unfinished. The AI is garbage. I mean, you can lose them so easily, it's ridiculous. And there's just no real fun in the gunplay. It was just... I know they keep trying to fix it, but I don't think there's any fix in this one. Malcolm gave up on it. We completed the story, and then there was no real need to go back. No point where we're like, oh, we want to go do this side mission or explore this place, because all of the map is identical. The map isn't remotely interesting. There was so many times that we went to a place and we're like, wait, we've been here before, haven't we? And it turned out we hadn't, but it was identical to literally a place. And that was one of my arguments for Wildlands, is this is the problem. They sell these things on these massive maps, but they're either barren or they're just copy and pasted sets. So yeah, just avoid this at all costs. It's buggy, it's boring. It's another Tom Clancy game. That poor guy must be rolling in his grave at this point with what Ubisoft have done with his name. But yeah, and franchises. But yeah, avoid that at all costs. But you know what? I say that all about that, but it definitely never got me anywhere as angry as my number one entry. It is Wolfenstein Youngblood. Oh my god, just the fact that, this game, the biggest sellout. I mean, the fact that it has microtransactions in a single player, I say single player, it's cooperative, but an offline game where you can buy outfits for yourself that you will never see because it's a first person shooter. What is wrong with you, Bethesda? Watching the shit show that was Fallout 76 was just hilarious. But this is just taking the piss. And that is the teeny tiniest, point on the iceberg with this whole thing. Because Then we are introduced to the worst possible characters ever in a game. Oh, I thought Max and Chloe annoyed me in Life is Strange. Somehow, Wolfenstein Youngblood sets female representation in games back about 1,000 years. It is awful. The twin daughters of our hero BJ Blazkowicz are the main protagonists in this game, and they are the most 80s, 90s, bruh-ish, fucking awful, just bitches. I hate them. They were so annoying. They're just like these hillbilly... I don't even know how they turned out like this with the group of people that were around them. I mean, it doesn't help that Danny Blazkowicz just one day randomly goes, you know what, I want to go for a walk, and disappears. And then these two daughters are sent out to go get him back. And you're like, okay, I don't get the premise for this game, but let's see where this goes. And then you spend all of 2 seconds at the beginning of this game with them, and they're doing these snort laughs. And, you know, they're the kind of thing that you see these videos of people, these guys that were on, making videos about Doctor Who becoming a woman, and that it was taking away a male character from them. You know, somebody for them to look up to, because heavens forbid they've only got a bazillion others. You know, taking away these twats that don't even think, oh, it's PC gone mad and all that stuff. I swear, those people are the ones who made this game, because you know what, we get I had on my best of list Senua's Sacrifice. We have these strong characters like Senua in that. We have Aloy in Horizon Zero Dawn. They tried doing something different with Lara Croft in Tomb Raider and stuff to make her seem more relatable, but these, just the thought of them makes me so angry. And that's not even the beginning, because not only do you have these characters that you do not want to spend any time with whatsoever, you can tell how angry this is making me, the combat system is garbage. So you have this variety of different enemy types, normal, a lot of them over, I mean, essentially this was nothing more than it copied assets from the games. Nothing felt original. And we'll get to the only thing that did feel original I'll get to in a minute. But so you have these different enemy types, but they have different shielding types, which means you can only use certain types of ammo against different types of enemies. And you're like, okay. So, but the way this was represented is, so you have their bars above their head, except if they have hollow squares above their head, it's one type of ammo. If these squares are filled in, it's a different type of ammo. That's great. I'm sure if you could see, if you know, heavens forbid we should be accessible for visually impaired people, but even in combat, I'm not even kidding, even Malcolm said this. The last thing you're looking at is the box above their head, and switching between ammo types is the most tedious thing. So, and you run out of one type of ammo way faster than the other type, so you've got no guarantees what ammo type you're going to get. You don't have no idea what ammo, like what weapon you're going to get the ammo type for. Switching between those types of ammo is frustrating, and you can barely see. All you could do is see if any damage comes off the health, and if it doesn't, then more than likely you need to switch the ammo. It is the most stupid, over-convoluted, unintuitive combat system I have played in any game, and it could have been interesting in that RPG style of way, but it just wasn't. And I'm just like, and then you're stopped from going in certain areas, because of course, you know, heavens forbid you should be the same level as the enemies. So you've got all that, and then you're traversing. So Arcane Studios were called in, Arcane Studios who made the Dishonored games, they were called in to help with the level designs, to give a verticality to the buildings and stuff. And that's great. I feel bad for Arcane Studios. So they end up essentially making buildings that were rip-offs of the buildings in the Dishonored series. And you're like, oh, okay. So again, that is the only thing that felt fresh to the series. But it just felt like Dishonored had been dumped inside of Wolfenstein. everything about this game was awful. I mean, there's being disappointed, and then there's just been, what the fuck did I just sit through? This game is everything that is wrong with AAA games. I mean, at Breakpoint as well. But this game was just everything that is wrong with the AAA system at the moment. And Malcolm and I, we didn't even finish the game. We're like, we need to take a break. We might go back to it at some point, if we have a lobotomy. I personally hated this game so much. We played it on stream. It was frustrating. And I'm so angry about this game. Yeah, just don't avoid this at all costs. This is easily the worst game that I played in 2019. Avoid at all costs. And Bethesda, now that Microsoft have taken over, get your fucking act together. Seriously. This sudden change, which I assume is something to do with your parent company ZeniMax or something, but I hope Microsoft make you, like, actually get back on track. Because seriously, you used to be a good company, and, like, I'm just so sad with what I assume. All I can assume by playing this game is that Bethesda had so much, like, as the publisher, they were just like, no, do this. Do that. I don't know. Of course, it could be wrong. Maybe Machineworks were just forced to make something that they weren't prepared to. Machinework games were just, it just didn't work. It was the worst and a waste of time. Avoid. But before I lose my mind thinking about that game anymore, I'm going to call it there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm sorry I rambled on as usual. There's so many just conflicting and confusing thoughts I have about these different games, especially the ones that were not bad by any means. The ones at the top end of the end of the list, like the 9, 8, 7 kind of thing. They weren't bad games. They were just underwhelming, and then you just go through all those different emotions. But yeah. That was my most disappointing games of 2019. Congrats 2019 for riling me up quite so much. Thanks for watching, guys. Sorry I've waffled on. Hopefully 2020's list will be out on time this year, so keep everything crossed. Working on other videos at the moment. I've got a number of things that I've edited that I need to upload at some point. I'm trying to keep them weekly at the moment. I don't know how well this will go. I'm a bit behind with recording this particular video at the moment, so I'm hoping that I can get a rush on getting it edited, but I guess we'll see. But please take care, guys. Stay well, stay safe even, and I'll see you somewhere down the line.